I used to think that sickness was just my body reacting to stress. Every single morning for 3 months, I woke up with the same feeling. My stomach twisted like something inside me was trying to escape. My head spun. Sometimes I had to run to the bathroom just to throw up water. At first, I ignored it. Then it got worse. The strange part? By noon, I felt perfectly fine. Doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me. Blood tests were normal. My heart was healthy. My lungs were clear. Maybe it's anxiety, one doctor suggested. But something inside me kept whispering that it wasn't. I didn't know that the real answer was hanging around my wife's neck the entire time. And I definitely didn't expect a jeweler to be the one who would reveal the truth. My name is Ethan Miller. I'm 37 years old. Most people would say I live a good life. I own a small logistics company in Seattle. Nothing huge, but stable. I worked my way up from a warehouse worker to owning the company. It took me 15 years of sleepless nights, broken trucks, and more risk than I'd ever admit to anyone. But it paid off. 5 years ago, I married the woman I thought was the love of my life. Her name is Claire Miller. We met at a charity event hosted by one of my clients. She worked as an event planner, and she had this calm confidence that immediately caught my attention. She wasn't loud. She wasn't dramatic. She just had this quiet elegance that made people listen when she spoke. Within a year, we were married. Our life together looked perfect from the outside. Nice apartment downtown, weekend trips, dinner parties with friends, and a marriage that seemed stable. At least, that's what I thought. The sickness started about 3 months ago. At first it was mild, just a little nausea in the morning. Claire would laugh and tease me. "Maybe you're pregnant," she joked once while pouring coffee. I forced a smile. Very funny, but the sickness didn't stop. Some mornings I couldn't even eat breakfast. Other mornings, I'd collapse back into bed after trying to stand up. Claire always looked concerned. She would rub my back while I leaned over the sink. "You should see another doctor," she'd say softly. I did. 3 different ones. All of them said the same thing. "You're healthy." One even suggested therapy, but something strange kept bothering me. The sickness only happened in the mornings, and only at home. If I woke up at a hotel during business trips, I felt completely fine. No nausea, no dizziness, no headaches. The moment I came home, it started again. I tried to convince myself it was coincidence, but deep down, I felt like something wasn't right. Claire, meanwhile, seemed perfectly normal. She was actually happier than usual. About a month ago, her aunt passed away. They weren't extremely close, but apparently the aunt had been very wealthy. Claire inherited a large amount of money, almost $2 million. When she told me, she cried. "I can't believe she left this to me," she said. I hugged her tightly. "You deserve it," and I meant it. Claire had always worked hard. She deserved something good. A few days after the inheritance came through, she bought herself a necklace. It was beautiful. A thin gold chain with a dark green stone in the center. The stone had this strange shine to it. Not like a diamond or emerald, it almost looked smoky. "Do you like it?" she asked one evening while standing in front of the mirror. "It looks amazing," I said honestly. She smiled. "I saw it at a boutique jewelry store. The owner said it was very rare. She wore that necklace almost every day after that. I didn't think much of it. Until last Tuesday. That was the day everything started to change. Claire had asked me to come with her to the jewelry store. "The clasp feels loose," she said. "I don't want to lose it." The shop was small but elegant. Warm lights reflected off glass display cases filled with rings and watches. An older man stood behind the counter. He looked like he had been working with jewelry for decades. Claire handed him the necklace. "Could you check the clasp?" she asked politely. The man nodded and picked it up. At first, he looked calm. Then his expression changed. His eyebrows pulled together. He leaned closer to the stone. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then, he looked up at Claire. "Where did you get this?" he asked slowly. Claire frowned. "Here, actually. About a month ago." The jeweler looked confused. "No," he said quietly. "This didn't come from my store." Claire laughed nervously. "Yes, it did." But the man shook his head. "I would remember a piece like this." Then he looked at me, his eyes suddenly serious. "Sir, Have you been feeling sick lately? My stomach dropped. How did you know that? He hesitated. Then he said something that made the room feel suddenly colder. Because stones like this, he paused, are not supposed to be worn close to the body. And in that moment, I felt the same wave of nausea hit me again, stronger than ever. The moment the jeweler said that, my stomach twisted again. A cold wave of nausea rushed through my body so suddenly that I had to grab the edge of the glass counter to steady myself. Claire noticed immediately. "Ethan?" she said, her voice sharp with concern. "Are you okay?" I forced a breath through my teeth. Yeah, just dizzy. But the truth was, it felt exactly like every morning when I woke up sick, except this time, the feeling came the second the jeweler mentioned that stone. The old man was still staring at the necklace like it was something dangerous. Claire crossed her arms. "What do you mean it's not supposed to be worn?" she asked. "It's a necklace." The jeweler slowly placed it on a small velvet pad instead of handing it back right away. "I'm not saying it's poisonous," he said carefully. "But the mineral inside that pendant, it's unusual." Claire's eyebrows tightened. "What mineral?" He leaned closer to the stone again. "Honestly, I'm not completely sure," he admitted. "But it looks similar to certain rare minerals that can emit low levels of radiation." For a moment, nobody spoke. I blinked. "Radiation?" I repeated. Claire laughed nervously. "Okay, that's ridiculous." But the jeweler didn't laugh. "I might be wrong," he said calmly. "But I've been working with jewelry for 40 years. When I see something unfamiliar, I pay attention." My chest tightened. Radiation? That sounded insane, but then something inside my head connected two things instantly. My morning sickness and the necklace Claire wore every single day. "Wait," I said slowly. "If it's radiation, wouldn't that make Claire sick too?" The jeweler shrugged slightly. "It depends on the exposure level." Claire rolled her eyes. "This is getting dramatic." She reached forward to grab the necklace, but the jeweler stopped her hand gently. "I would recommend getting it tested first." Claire's patience clearly snapped. "It's just a necklace," she said firmly. "You're acting like it's a bomb." The man didn't argue. He simply looked at me again, and then he said something quietly. "Sir, how close do you usually sit to your wife in the mornings?" The question caught me off guard. "Pretty close," I answered automatically. Claire and I had a morning routine. She always drank coffee at the kitchen island while I sat beside her trying to wake up. Every single morning, every single time the sickness hit, the jeweler slowly nodded, like a puzzle piece had just clicked into place. "That might explain something." Claire sighed loudly. "Oh my God, this is ridiculous." She grabbed the necklace from the velvet pad and clasped it back around her neck. "There, I'm still alive." The jeweler looked uncomfortable but didn't stop her again. "Just consider having it tested," he said. Claire grabbed my arm. "Come on, Ethan. Let's go." I followed her out of the store, but my mind was spinning. Radiation. That word refused to leave my head. The moment we stepped outside into the fresh air, Claire turned to me. "Don't tell me you actually believe that guy." "I don't know," I admitted. She stared at me like I had just insulted her. "Ethan, it's jewelry, not uranium." I rubbed my forehead. "I know. It just seems strange." Claire crossed her arms again. "You've been sick because you're stressed." That's it. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was overthinking everything. But something still didn't feel right. That night, I tried to forget about it. Claire cooked dinner. We watched a movie. Everything looked completely normal. But when we went to bed, I noticed something strange. Claire took off the necklace and placed it on the nightstand beside my side of the bed. Not hers, mine. I frowned slightly. "Why'd you put it there?" I asked. She shrugged casually. "It's closer to your side." I didn't argue, but something about it made me uneasy. The next morning proved something I couldn't ignore. I woke up feeling horrible, worse than ever. My stomach churned violently, and my head felt like it was spinning inside a blender. I stumbled into the bathroom and threw up again. When I came back to the bedroom, Claire was still sleeping, and the necklace was still sitting on the nightstand, right beside my pillow. A strange thought entered my mind. Slowly, I picked it up. The stone felt slightly warm in my palm. That alone was weird, but something else felt wrong too. A faint, Metallic smell clung to it. I stared at the dark green stone. Then I remembered the jeweler's words. "Sir, have you been feeling sick lately?" My heart started beating faster. Without waking Claire, I quietly walked out to the kitchen. I placed the necklace on the counter and stepped back. 10 minutes passed, and something strange happened. The nausea started fading, slowly, but noticeably. My stomach stopped twisting. The dizziness eased. Within 20 minutes, I felt almost normal. I stared at the necklace across the kitchen counter, and for the first time, a terrifying possibility crossed my mind. What if the sickness wasn't random? What if it wasn't stress? What if the necklace really was making me sick? But an even darker question followed immediately after. If that was true, why had Claire placed it on my side of the bed? And why didn't she seem worried at all when the jeweler warned us? Standing there in the quiet kitchen, staring at that strange green stone, I felt a cold chill run down my spine. Because suddenly, it didn't feel like an accident anymore. It felt like something else entirely. And I had a terrible feeling that the answer was going to destroy my marriage. That morning, I didn't touch the necklace again. I just stood there in the kitchen staring at it like it might suddenly explain itself. But objects don't tell the truth. People do. Or they hide it. When Claire finally woke up, she walked into the kitchen in her usual relaxed way, tying her hair into a loose ponytail. "Morning," she said. Then she noticed the necklace sitting on the counter. Her eyes paused for half a second. Just half. But I saw it. "Why's my necklace here?" she asked casually. I leaned against the counter. "You left it on the nightstand." "Oh." She picked it up without hesitation and clasped it around her neck again. The moment it settled against her chest, my stomach tightened. Almost instantly, a faint wave of nausea rolled through me again. Not strong, but noticeable. My heart started beating faster. Claire poured herself coffee like nothing was wrong. "You're quiet today," she said. "I didn't sleep well." That part wasn't a lie. She sat on the kitchen stool beside me. Close, very close, exactly where she sat every morning. And just like that, the sickness returned. My head started spinning again. I forced myself to stay calm. Maybe it was psychological. Maybe my brain was tricking me after hearing the jeweler's warning. But I needed proof, so I stood up suddenly. "I need some air," I said. Claire looked surprised. "You just woke up." "Yeah, I know." I stepped outside onto the balcony. The cold morning air hit my face. Within a few minutes, the nausea eased again. I slowly exhaled. This wasn't coincidence anymore. Something about that necklace was affecting me. And whether Claire knew it or not, it was dangerous. When I went back inside, Claire was scrolling through her phone. She glanced up. "Feeling better?" "Yeah." I tried to sound normal, but my mind was racing. There was only one way to know for sure. "I'm going to run an errand later," I said. "What kind of errand?" "I want to get the necklace tested." Claire's expression hardened instantly. "No." The response came too fast, too sharp. It caught me off guard. "Why not?" I asked calmly. "Because it's unnecessary." Her tone wasn't casual anymore. It was defensive. I frowned. Claire, a professional jeweler, literally warned us. He said he might be wrong, which is exactly why we should test it. She crossed her arms. "You're overreacting, or I'm being careful." For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then she sighed, dramatically. "Ethan, you've been sick because you're anxious. That's all. That doesn't explain why I feel better when I'm away from the necklace." Her eyes flickered again, just like yesterday in the store. A small reaction, but this time it lasted longer. "You're imagining things," she said. I didn't respond, because something was becoming clearer with every second. Claire wasn't curious about the truth. She was trying to avoid it. That bothered me more than the necklace itself. "Where did you even get it?" I asked. She looked slightly annoyed. "My aunt gave it to me." "Which aunt?" "Aunt Rebecca." I thought about that for a moment. Claire's Aunt Rebecca had passed away about 2 months ago. The necklace appeared shortly after that. "You never mentioned it before," I said. It wasn't a big deal, but the tone of her voice felt rehearsed, like she had already prepared that answer. That afternoon, Claire left to meet a friend for lunch. The moment she walked out the door, I made a decision. I grabbed my keys, and I drove back to the jewelry district. but not to the same shop. If Claire somehow checked there later, I didn't want anyone mentioning me. Instead, I found a small laboratory that specialized in gemstone analysis. The man at the front desk looked curious when I placed the necklace in front of him. "I'd like this tested," I said. "For what exactly?" "Anything unusual." He nodded and took the pendant carefully. "Results usually take a few hours." "I'll wait." 3 hours later, the technician returned with a small printed report. But before he even handed it to me, he looked concerned. "Where did you get this?" My chest tightened. "Why?" He pointed to the report. "This stone contains thorium." I blinked. "Thorium?" "It's a radioactive element." The word hit my ears like a gunshot. "How dangerous?" I asked. He hesitated. "Well, under normal circumstances, it's used in controlled environments." "And in jewelry?" He shook his head slowly. "It absolutely should not be worn like this." A cold chill spread through my entire body. "How much exposure are we talking about?" The technician flipped the report. "If someone wore this daily for long periods, especially in close proximity to another person." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. My stomach dropped. "Could it cause sickness?" I asked quietly. "Headaches, nausea, fatigue." Exactly what I had been experiencing. My hands tightened into fists, but the wearer might not feel symptoms immediately. He continued. "The exposure spreads outward toward the person closest, which meant me." I stared down at the necklace in horror, then a terrifying realization formed in my mind. If this stone was radioactive, then Claire couldn't have accidentally bought it. No normal jewelry store would sell this, which meant someone gave it to her. Or she knew exactly what it was. And suddenly the jeweler's words echoed in my head again. "Sir, how close do you sit to your wife in the mornings?" "Every morning, every breakfast, every night in bed, every moment beside her. The sickness, the dizziness, the vomiting, all of it." My heart began pounding violently, because one question now terrified me more than anything else. Did Claire know the necklace was slowly poisoning me? Or worse, was that the entire point? The drive home felt longer than usual. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly while the technician's words kept repeating in my mind. Thorium, a radioactive element. And the worst part, someone had to know. This wasn't a normal gemstone you could accidentally buy from a store shelf. The technician had been very clear about that. Jewelry like this wasn't supposed to exist in public circulation, which meant one thing. Someone had intentionally placed that stone into a necklace, and somehow it ended up around my wife's neck. I pulled into our apartment parking lot and sat in the car for a few minutes. My chest felt heavy. I didn't want to believe Claire could do something like that, but my mind kept replaying the conversation we had that morning. Her reaction when I suggested testing the necklace, the way she immediately said no. Too fast, too defensive, almost like she already knew what the test would reveal. I took a deep breath and walked upstairs. When I opened the apartment door, Claire was already home. She was sitting on the couch watching TV like nothing in the world was wrong. "Hey," she said casually. "You were gone a while." My eyes immediately moved to her neck. The necklace was still there. The dark stone rested against her chest, glinting slightly in the light. And right away, my stomach twisted again. A faint wave of nausea rolled through me. Not as strong as before, but enough to remind me that the technician hadn't been exaggerating. "That lunch with your friend end early?" I asked. "Yeah, she had to leave." Claire muted the television and looked at me. "You look tense." I forced a small smile. "Just tired." She studied my face for a moment, then her eyes narrowed slightly. "You went to test the necklace, didn't you?" The question hit me like a slap. So she had suspected it. I slowly walked into the living room and sat across from her. I did. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she sighed. "Ethan, I told you it was unnecessary." I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the printed report. Her eyes dropped to the paper in my hand. "What's that?" "The results." The room suddenly felt colder. Claire didn't reach for the paper. She just stared at it, like it might explode. "Well?" she asked quietly. I placed it on the coffee table between us. "The stone contains thorium." Her eyebrows tightened. And it's radioactive." The word hung in the air like smoke. Claire didn't react immediately. She just stared at me. Then she laughed. A short, awkward laugh. That's ridiculous. It's in the report. Reports can be wrong. The lab specializes in gemstone analysis. Her fingers tapped nervously against the couch. That jeweler yesterday probably scared you. No. My voice came out firmer than I expected. The jeweler suspected something was wrong. I leaned forward, but the lab confirmed it. Claire looked away toward the window. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked uncomfortable, not confused, not shocked, just uncomfortable, like someone caught in a lie. "How dangerous is it?" she asked. "Enough to make someone sick." Silence filled the apartment. Claire's hand slowly moved to the necklace. She touched the pendant lightly. "You're saying this thing is poisoning you?" "I'm saying every time I'm close to it, I get sick." Her fingers stopped moving. "Maybe it's affecting you psychologically. Then explain why the symptoms disappear when I leave the room." She didn't answer. Instead, she stood up and walked toward the kitchen. "I'm making tea," she said flatly. It was obvious she was trying to change the subject.